Well, greetings, everybody. I'm here alone this week. I'm Bill Weidecker from the Fine Homes Group at Keller Williams, and you're catching us on Good Deeds. We call it real estate with a mission. We have a passion for our business, but also it comes with a calling, and that is for every transaction we conclude, we make a donation to our charitable foundation for scholarships for kids in New Hampshire. Last year, I'm happy to tell you, we gave out close to $16,000 in scholarships, and so far, our tally has taken us right at the $100,000 number, and that's nothing to sneeze at, because I'll tell you, there's no lack of need for scholarship money for kids in New Hampshire, and it's something that's near and dear to our heart, and it's grown out of one scholarship many years ago that we made a donation for a few $100s, and here it is, turns into this. So we're very proud of the fact that we have a calling and a mission and a passion for real estate, and that's why we call it Good Deeds. Let's get into some of the content and the topics that I'd like to cover today. Number one is the Federal Reserve made a 50 basis point cut last week in their Fed funds rate, which is trickling down ever so slowly, gradually into the mortgage market. And that's good news. That's good news for the consumers out there who have credit card debt, but also who have mortgage rates that they'd like to think about refinancing. To give you an idea what that means, in the last week since that rate cut by the Fed, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, refinance applications have gone up by 20% week over week compared to the previous week. That's a big jump, and I think that bodes well for the consumers out there, namely because the Federal Reserve, I don't believe, is done. I think we're looking at a Fed funds rate cut again in November, and possibly another in December. And in the words of my mother, we'll see, because really it comes down to this. They're going to analyze what the data tells them month to month to month. And while we saw a 20% jump in refinance applications, we also saw an 11% jump in new home purchase applications, meaning this. People were looking to get qualified for mortgages for the first time, and that's an 11% jump week over week. That has to have a correlation, in my opinion, with the 50 basis point cut by the Fed. That's good news. Now, what does this all mean for New Hampshire? Well, I can tell you that inventory has just crept up over 2,100 single-family homes for the first time in a couple of years. And then I think that's good news also, because we are seeing a bit of a pause or a slowdown in buyer traffic, meaning this. The new homes that are coming on the market are no longer getting wildly outstripped by under agreements. Before, we were as close as 2 to 1. For every house that came on, 2 houses went under agreement. Well, it doesn't take much to tell you that you can run out of inventory very quickly. We had less than a month at one point in supply. Now we've got just a little over 2 months worth of supply. Still not a lot, still very much a seller's market. But we are seeing more buyer-friendly tendencies in the marketplace. And I suspect in 2025 we'll see inventory slowly increase again, which will help ease the burden that many buyers have found in the marketplace, which is they'd had to buy with quite possibly by waiving home inspections, waiving financing contingencies, and things of the like. That's starting to get a little bit more less frequent, which is good news, because I think a buyer that buys a home after a home inspection buys with their eyes wide open. And that's also good news for them, because they make a decision accordingly. And it's good news for the sellers. And you might think, how is that? Well, the reason that is because if a buyer buys a home in spite of some issues that are found in a home inspection, that means the seller doesn't have to worry about that coming up after the fact, post-closing. So I think it's good for everybody. And the marketplace, as I say, I believe in 2025 is going to return to a little bit of a healthier pace. And we'll see more inventory as well because as rates come down, we're going to unlock some of those homeowners that have been sort of laying in wait for that to happen because they've got low mortgages to begin with that they don't want to trade in for a high mortgage. Now, keep in mind, while we are now starting to see rates around 6, they dipped this past week for the federally insured mortgages into the high 5s, which, again, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, called it a psychologically important baseline because people start to feel better. Keep in mind, about a year ago, we were seeing rates close to 8%. So that's good news. The second thing I want to talk about is I'm a guest weekly on New Hampshire Today. It's a radio program on WGIR. And Chris Ryan, the host there, we're finishing up our broadcast, and we entered into a discussion about real estate in Coos County. He brought it up. He said, some of the areas of Coos County, they have not bounced back economically like much of southern New Hampshire has. And it turned into a discussion about Berlin, New Hampshire, and the surrounding towns around it. And so it made me realize that I wanted to do a little more research on it because I think I grew up in Coos County as a young kid, moved there when I was 5 years old, and moved to Manchester when I was 14. So that 9-year period of time was a great time for me because Coos County, namely Lancaster, New Hampshire, was a great place to grow up. So I did a little bit of research, and here's what I found out. The median sale price in the state of New Hampshire through August, are up to date as you can get, was $535,000. It's a big number, over $500,000 for the median priced home. And so it made me do the research. And in Coos County, the median priced home, are you ready for this? Was $250,000. Now keep in mind, yes, it's in the northern part of the state. And if you are employed and you can work from home, there's not a better place to live, in my opinion. I'm biased because I grew up there, but also it is, first of all, one of the most beautiful places in the state. Secondly, it's close to so much recreation, and I look at it from this point of view. If you're not going to think about it for a primary residence, you might want to think about it for an investment or a secondary residence, because there is a willing workforce in the largest city of Coos County, and that's Berlin, New Hampshire. And the paper mills used to drive that economy up there, and it was a agronomy economy as well. Here's what we see today. Lots of that has pivoted towards recreation and towards the service industry and vacation industry. At $250,000 for the median priced home, that means half might be more than that, but it also means half might be less. Now, if that's appealing to you, if you're looking for a getaway, you got to realize if you're thinking of something on one of the larger lakes in the state of New Hampshire, we used to say you better have a second comma in the price range. Well, and now we're saying you better have a digit called the number 2 in the price range. In Coos County, you need a digit with the number 2. That's 250, not 2 million. And I think that's good news. You might find a place on a small pond, a large pond or a small lake in Coos County. You could also find, if the water's not important to you and skiing is, you don't necessarily need to be slopeside because you pay for that. You could be within 10 to 15 to 20 minutes from some of the best skiing in the Northeast, and for very affordable numbers. If this sounds like something you might be interested in, you can have a getaway for not a lot of down payment or not a lot of payment price. So we just want to point that out to you because as a value add, this might be something you'd want to give some consideration to, either as a place of your own or a place for investment. So again, a lot thrown at you there in just a few minutes, but that's what we do at Good Deeds. We talk about real estate, We talk about our mission and our passion, which we already did. And I want to say we appreciate your time, and we say if you find value here, please like and follow us on wherever you get your podcast subscriptions, and also be sure to follow us on our YouTube channel. Again, I'm Bill Weidecker. You've been watching Good Deeds, Real Estate with a Mission. See you next time.